Fiona stood at the edge of the forest, the smell of damp earth permeating the air around her. The late afternoon sunlight struggled through the thick canopy, casting long shadows that swayed gently in the breeze. The forest, an expanse of mystery and superstition, was known locally as Devil's Hollow. For generations, whispers circulated about ghosts and spirits inhabiting its depths, tales mingling with more recent stories of missing persons who wandered too far into the unknown. Fiona, a 30-something librarian new to the quaint town of Larkspur, had recently become fascinated by these tales. Her move from the city to this quiet community had been a chance to escape her own demons, yet the stories drew her, flicking switches in her curiosity she never knew existed. Particularly haunting was the legend of the Beckoning Woman, said to appear near the old stone well deep within the hollow. Legend had it she'd entice wanderers, leading them astray under the guise of offering help, or perhaps peace. She hadn't planned to enter the forest that afternoon, but her feet seemed to move with a will of their own, guiding her past the trees, her breath hitching with excitement mixed with an undeniable fear. The community posts had listed several unexplained disappearances over decades that drew only local curiosity, no national headlines. But for Fiona, each story was a path, and each path begged to be walked. The deeper Fiona trekked, the more the real world faded. The noise of the town softened, replaced by the creaks and moans of the woods, as if the forest itself were a living, breathing entity. Her pace slowed as she focused on the surroundings. She noticed claw marks gouged into tree trunks and tufts of fur caught in brambles, evidence of nocturnal inhabitants. The air was cool now, carrying the sharp tang of approaching night. As shadows lengthened and light dwindled, Fiona located the narrow trail leading to the well. Despite the legend, or perhaps because of it, locals avoided this area. After an hour's hike, she reached the clearing. There it stood, the ancient stone well, moss-covered and sagging into the earth with an air of neglect that had outlasted generations. She shivered despite the mild air, the clearing oppressive with an indescribable weight. A light wind rustled leaves, their whispers reminiscent of hushed conspiracies. At the edge of the clearing, Fiona glimpsed a flash of white, a figure moving between the trees. Her heart pounded. Every rational part of her demanded she turn back, but another part, deeper and more primal, insisted otherwise. "Hello," she called out, voice sounding small among the towering pines. Silence, followed by a rustling, then footsteps approaching. A woman emerged, appearing ethereal and slightly out of focus, wearing a flowing white dress, her eyes dark and endless. Fiona's mind instinctively screamed to identify the woman as part of the legend, the Beckoning Woman. The figure cocked her head, almost invitingly, yet said nothing. Instead, she gestured with a graceful motion towards the path leading deeper into the forest. For a moment, Fiona stood frozen, a war within, curiosity against self-preservation. Finally, curiosity triumphed. It was her window to the infinite unknown, to answers about the disappearances, about the woman. As Fiona followed, she noticed how the forest grew denser, the trees gnarled and twisted, as though attempting to flee towards the light. She kept her eyes on the woman, who glided silently ahead. Soon the path ended at another clearing. Here, the air felt heavier, darker. A strange heaviness settled over Fiona's chest as if the atmosphere itself sought to drown her. Suddenly, the woman stopped, turning to face Fiona. Her features shifted in the gloom, both inviting and repelling. Then she spoke, voice as smooth as silk sliding over knife edges. "You seek the lost, do you not?" Fiona nodded, unable to form words. "Do you know why they vanish?" The woman continued, stepping closer until only feet separated them. "I wanted to know," Fiona replied, her voice barely a whisper. "They were chosen," the woman answered, "as are you." Fiona felt an icy dread replace her curiosity. Chosen? For what? The woman's eyes gleamed, brighter now, absorbing what little light remained, to become part of this place, feeding its stories. She reached out, fingers long and shadow-like. Fiona backed away instinctively, heart racing, but found her limbs heavy as lead, ensnared by the forest's will. As panic flared in her chest, Fiona remembered the stories she'd read. They alluded to how the missing were never truly lost, but rather absorbed, becoming shadows trapped within the forest, their cries the rustle of leaves, their faces the knots in bark. A primal instinct surged through Fiona, survival screaming above the noise inside her head. She stepped back further, breaking her gaze from the enthralling eyes. The forest seemed to shudder around her, displeased by her retreat. She turned and ran, the world narrowing to the path before her, the echoes of pursuit barely a breath behind. Branches clawed at her skin, roots attempted to trip her, but she pushed onward, the lesson of the moment clear. The forest craved something she was unwilling to give. As Fiona burst through the tree line, back into the open field near the town's edge, she finally dared a glance back. The forest stood still, its edge a solid line of shadows, the woman nowhere in sight. Silence hung in the air, heavy and expectant, but chose not to voice its demands. Her lungs ached, her skin bore the marks of the forest's jealousy, but she was free, a temporary reprieve. Yet, as Fiona walked away, a lingering unease clung to her like a veil. The town looked unchanged, unaware of the silent menace breathing at its borders. That night, safely home yet far from safe within herself, Fiona dreamt of the forest. Its trees twisted under moonlight, shadows dancing forms of forgotten faces. Whispering, always whispering, "Come back." And as days turned into weeks, Fiona struggled, the memories from that day weaving themselves into her thoughts. She learned to smile through it, converse casually at the library, pretend Devil's Hollow remained just a storybook tale. But truth is persistent. Occasionally, she felt the urge to share her encounter, but each time the words dissolved under invisible pressure. Instead, she wrote furiously in her journal, pages filling with recollections and theories, names of those missing over the years spinning into intricate webs. Months passed before she returned near the forest's edge under another sunlit afternoon. This time, her presence was purposeful. Not with the reckless curiosity that led her before, but with a wary admiration for the power that breathed there. The townspeople continued to circulate their tales, tales of the beckoning woman, of children hearing songs on the wind, of footsteps following those who wandered too close. Yet amidst the chatter, Fiona was thankful for her secret, knowledge of the forest's hunger. But her life now echoed different rhythms. Some nights whispered leaves would rouse her, sending chills across her skin. Others were calm, delivering dreams of serene yet eerie beauty, where forest scenes unfolded in subtle, ancient patterns. Back at the library, as Fiona dutifully shelved returned books, she would occasionally catch a glimpse from a window, a flash of white or the rustle of branches, enough to halt her in place. In those moments, she'd stop, breathing deeply, grounding herself in recalled urban normalcy, away from myths and shadows. But deep down, she knew the story continued to write itself. Newcomers to Larkspur would someday hear faint cries drifted on the breeze, or find paths bending mysteriously into obscurity, joining the tales long rooted in town memory. Devil's Hollow would always be there, just one step beyond daily life, sustaining its legends and mystery, as timeless and untamed as the wind through its towering trees. And remarkably, Fiona found peace, not in ignorance, but in the acceptance that not every mystery is meant to be solved, nor every darkness meant to be breached. Some pass through, others remain, but all inevitably feel the forest's whisper. Come back. So,